Hi, my name is Amrit. We've heard that IIT Madras is the best place to build. So we've come down to the Sudha and Shankar Innovation Hub. We want to meet some people. These are builders. We want to talk to them about their work and also ask them what makes IIT Madras the best place to build.
Imagine it like it's built for me. Like, for example, your shoe is your shoe. It's built for you. It's our responsibility to start building things so that when the time comes, we're not struggling and say, hey, can we fix it? And then we start importing a bunch of things. So it's basically larger the gap, larger you are at risk in actually solving the long-term issue.
Hi, welcome to the Best Place to Build podcast. Today we are sitting with Swostik from NeoMotion. Hi, Swostik.
I am Vitash.
Let's start with talking about what NeoMotion is and what NeoMotion does. Why don't you go ahead?
NeoMotion is all about making everyday mobility simple for persons with disability or elderly. For you and me, if you have to go out, we just simply go wear our shoes and walk out. But imagine for a person on a wheelchair, it's a very complicated task. They have to think, plan, take help for shifting, transferring, how will I go? So much of planning that needs to be done. And in the process, what typically ends up happening is they don't go out because they're always feeling that I'm dependent. And at NeoMotion, we're just trying to make this entire process easy, where a person on a wheelchair doesn't really need to think so much and make the entire process very simple. So we have a customized wheelchair and an add-on which converts the chair to a bike. So you just go out, attach it, your two-wheeler is ready, and you can go out. It's powered by battery. You can go on roads, go to your office, mall, go to the grocery market, and actually enjoy life, live life to the fullest.
It's damn cool. You didn't explain your company as we make wheelchairs, and you went through this idea that you're making a mobility. How do you do that? Like, how do you describe this?
Yeah, so we call it like a personal mobility vehicle. I mean, so it's something, imagine it like it's built for me. Like, for example, your shoe is your shoe. It's built for you. Your specs are your specs. It's made for you. Now, every human being is different. So the mobility device that needs to be used for them, and specifically when it comes to persons with disability, is uniquely built for them. So we call it personal mobility device. And it's a mix of what you sit on, where you're sitting for the long time, and what is helping you move. It's a combination of this entire thing.
And people who buy your products end up using it for, did you say going to the malls?
Yeah.
But is it more than that?
So, yeah, I mean, imagine it like for everything. I mean, you want to go to office. You're a student. You have to go to your college, complete your education. You use that to travel. Let me just help you visualize how otherwise it would happen.
Yeah.
What a wheelchair user would do is they'll go outside their house, they'll call an auto rickshaw or a car. They will shift and transfer onto that. Then somebody has to help fold the wheelchair, put it at the back of the car. You see the number of complex activity that it takes. A simple activity of just going, a travel time of 10 minutes is added with a transfer and shifting time of another 10 minutes. Another shifting time of another 20 minutes.
Plus somebody has to come with you.
And so on.
It's interesting. I saw your pitch on Shark Tank and it was amazing. And maybe we'll talk about the Shark Tank pitch for a while.
Sure.
But before that, can we just wind back and discuss how did you get here? How did you get into this product? And I know that you studied at IIT Madras. Which years?
I graduated 2008 to 2013.
Okay. So how did you, let's start from your childhood and just trace your journey to IIT.
Sure, fantastic. So I studied in KV, Kendriya Vidyalaya, and there are two events which I always used to look up to. There's the science exhibition and social science exhibition, where you actually go about building things. Those are very interesting points which KV actually taught us. And then I happened to come to IIT Madras. I'll tell how it all happened. But once I came to IIT Madras, I think that was like a dream come true.
As a student, as a school student?
When I came to IIT for my engineering.
Okay.
The entire stuff of creating things and building things, like what we used to do at science exhibition and social science exhibition, there won't be any resources. I mean, you would be trying to scrap things, find things. Parents won't give you money to go ahead. You didn't have the luxury to do all of that. But once you came here, like you had access to the entire resources, to a bunch of people who are thinking like you, and so on. I just go back. I mean, I did my KV, and then I was in Kharagpur. I was in Kharagpur and Calcutta. My counseling happened in IIT Kharagpur, and there it was. Somebody told me that if you want to do mechanical engineering, IIT Madras is good. When you apply for counseling, it goes in the same sequence: computer science, electrical, mechanical. You don't know much. But then, yeah, somewhere mechanical was there, IIT Kharagpur, IIT Madras was there, and I happened to be here. And it was a fantastic journey from there on to that exposure of actually the facility of building things and so on started here.
It's interesting. I also came to IIT Madras Mechanical, but I grew up in Madras. So for me, it was a very natural choice. It's just next door. I'd come to the campus as a student. And I also had a dual degree. So I was in intelligent manufacturing. I think you were in product design.
I was in product design.
And I think coming from Madras to IIT Madras is a very seamless journey. But for you, it must have been like almost like leaving home, going to a different place. And I've heard a lot of people say that, they're a little afraid to come to Chennai because it's like, in their mind, it's like, oh, there'll be too much idli, or I don't know. Was it like that for you?
No, actually, not. I mean, first of all, I would like to say that I think you need not be scared. Madras or Chennai is a nice place to.
It is, right?
It is a very nice place to. I mean, coming from that part of the country, it's not that there is something very difficult about it. It's a good place to live. For me, why was that the choice? Actually, my father had been to Chennai earlier and he liked the place. And he said, I know that place. It's good. You can go there. It's got a good environment, culture, and it was seamless for me, actually, in that way.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I moved to Chennai with my mother in 98. So a few years before IIT, and I was very happy.
Yeah. While on campus, you anyway don't have any challenge. When you go out also,
you have to learn
English. Yeah.
You have to learn to negotiate with the auto drivers.
That's the only
difficult part.
Yeah. That's the only difficult. Rest all, everybody understands English and it is simple.
Yeah. I also want to remark that you're Odia and I'm Odia.
Yeah.
And I know we were discussing this before, and I love talking about this to other people also, that a lot of marketing, and I'm bringing this up because in your product, there's a lot of marketing involved. A lot of marketing, a lot of food that we know across, like Punjabi food and Udupi food and so on, is basically because they were marketed well. And I always have a beef that Odia food is just simply not marketed well. There are no big Odia restaurants.
Yeah, the number of varieties of food that we have, like Besara, Dalma, or any of that, that they're so different. And yeah, you're right. I mean, they have not been.
And we have, and everybody has a deep familiarity to Bengali food. Because there are Bengali restaurants.
Right.
No Odia restaurants.
No Odia restaurant. I agree.
I think we should have a collaboration and a pact that if we have sufficient cash, we should just fund some Odia restaurants.
I think we should do that. I'm done on that.
Okay.
Yes.
On that point, let's get to your Shark Tank moment.
Yeah.
And this is a big marketing moment for you, right? Like, you build these mobility devices. And now there's this opportunity to show the entire country what you have done.
Yeah.
How was that journey like?
So I think Shark Tank has been extremely helpful in creating awareness about what we do. The work that we are doing is almost like creating a different category. I'm sure everybody knows what wheelchair is. All of us would have seen the way wheelchairs look. The basic form factor of them has actually stayed more or less the same. But if we specifically talk about here in India, it's an even greater challenge. Like, if I have to say, this is where the average wheelchair should be like, a good wheelchair should be like. Maybe in the developed countries, they're somewhere over here in terms of innovation. Here in India, and you talk about any developing countries, we are almost at a negative. Again, to add on, just to define why it is like this, is like, see, you're wearing a shoe. Your shoe is made for your size. A wheelchair is something which a person sits for such a long duration, for 8 hours to 10 hours in a day. And what we have right now is a one size fits all. And that's what, in India, what we get is like, imagine slapping a shoe of size 14 to everybody. Like all of you wear shoe of size 14 and start walking. How will you walk? You can't. So the wheelchairs that's here right now is like that.
If it's a one size fits all, somebody will be too small for it, somebody will be too big for it. It may just be uncomfortable in many different ways.
It is uncomfortable. It leads to multiple secondary complications.
Okay.
It means it affects and damages your health over a period of time. Even if like there are young people who have the ability to propel their own wheelchair, because that's how it should be done. That's the mode of exercise and activity. And then when you're sitting on a chair which doesn't fit you, your ergonomics of propelling is so difficult. Your shoulders are like this. You can't be moving like this throughout the day. So this is what is the present scenario. So this is the average technology presently in the market. What we have is here, and there's a long jump to be made for us to bring that change.
So first you have to inform the whole market that a customization is available.
Yeah. And also very simple example, if you have to go and buy a phone, you would go to the shop and say, I need so much of battery life, I need so much of RAM, I need this screen size. If I have to ask you, you have to go, you go to a shop and buy a wheelchair. How do you go about it?
Maybe it's like SML, XL.
No, I have told you that. You won't even ask that. Yeah. So if actually, let me help you visualize that. Somebody will go to a shop and say, I need a wheelchair. And then the criteria would be, this looks good. And this has got a better fabric on it. And then the person will go and they'll touch it. Okay, this maybe feels comfortable. And then there is a third element of price. And that's it. It's absolutely absent. So, when just coming back to the Shark Tank point and relating to that, that you have to create an awareness that this is how a good wheelchair should be like. This is how you should go and ask for it. That entire understanding is missing. So it's not just about creating the product, but actually educating the customer that, or the end user, that this is why it should be like this. This should be the normal, and it has not been this way.
Right.
And that's a huge task.
Fair enough. In software, there's a term that's used called category creation. I mean, in marketing.
Yeah.
And that refers to the idea that when you are creating a category, the consumer is not aware of the specs or the pricing.
Yeah.
And so this is like a category creation kind of challenge.
It is almost like a category creation. And very specifically, what becomes challenging in this particular sector is that everybody has seen a wheelchair. And then when you're going and trying and explain that all of this is required, it takes time for people to even understand. And further, when the baseline price has been set so low, when it's almost like a commodity. What is there in the market is almost like a commodity. Now, in that precedence, in that market where there has been a precedent set of very low cost, that's perfectly all right. And then you're trying to create a category on that. That becomes the challenging part. And hence, that creating education awareness is important.
Fair enough. But what you are selling is not a wheelchair, but a mobility device that allows you to sort of go to work, go to enjoy your life and so on. And I remember this moment in 2007-8 when Apple launched the iPhone, and it was like everybody's like, what the hell is this price?
Yeah.
And Steve Jobs was very clear that I'm not selling a cell phone.
Yeah.
I'm not selling this thing. I'm selling an internet device. And we were like, what is an internet device? Yeah. But now it's different.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think people will pay that price if they understand what they are paying for.
Right. And as engineers, for us, it's like, it doesn't come to us naturally. We have to unlearn many things and then actually get into that mode and say,
yes, that conversation we get into. But on Shark Tank, one of the issues, one of the things that the sharks raised, or the confusions that the sharks had is this a social venture? Is it a business venture? How do you look at this?
Yeah.
And, I used to sell children's books, which as a category has that same issue because there are some non-profits. There's some very few small for-profits. And if people are always confused on, are you doing this on passion? Are you doing this for love? Are you doing this for social benefit? And maybe the permission for us to think of profit was not there. So how is it like for you?
Our approach has been to operate as a for-profit entity. And I would also say that why it is important. So it's not that if you're doing, I mean, what do we call as a social enterprise? It's basically something which has not been done by anybody. Nobody has created a profitable business or a venture in that, and which is not lucrative, and hence you term it as social enterprise, and then maybe you go and start raising funds because it's a difficult business model to solve. Fair enough. So we take that path and we do that. So even, I mean, I can say whatever work we are doing is absolutely social, but we are a for-profit. And the objective of trying it to be in a for-profit mode, it builds efficiency. It pushes you to figure out models which will sustain for long. I mean, imagine if I'm operating purely out of philanthropy, or that has been the mode of operation. Maybe it's possible that I can continue to do it, but the market doesn't decide. The end user doesn't decide. It's the philanthropy or the body which is donating. They decide whether I'm interested in today's point of time. If their focus shifts to water or sanitation, then I'm not.
Oh, it's very interesting. You are saying that if it's a for-profit, then it's a conversation between the builders, the company, and the consumers.
And the consumers.
But if it's a non-profit, then the conversation is between the philanthropist and the builder, and the consumer is sort of...
If consumers don't decide, I mean, market is here to stay. I mean, the end users are here to stay. When they are deciding, when we're trying to work with them, reducing the gap between the buyer and the user. It's very clear. Like, there is a buyer, which is a philanthropy. In that particular case, the user is somebody else. Whether the user likes it or not, who cares? In a sponsor-driven, it is like that. Because
or rather, the philanthropist's personal biases will dominate.
Yes. What they feel. So the goal is to actually, I mean...
And tomorrow, if they think that I'm going to move sectors to, say, water, or I'm going to move sectors to something else, then it's gone.
Absolutely. So it's basically larger the gap, larger you are at risk in actually solving the long-term issue. The key challenge is being, I mean, you can be a cooperative, any model, but it should be like, I mean, a for-profit or any of that model ensures that you're building efficiency. You're building something which is here to last for long. If NeoMotion has to bring a change, unless NeoMotion is there for next 100 years, it will not happen.
Yeah. I also think that people confuse for-profit and greed very easy.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a greedy model.
Yeah.
It's a consumer-focused profit-making model. I'm going to take that profit and make another product.
Oh yeah. I think the word profit I think once you are into business, you appreciate that word. I mean, imagine it just like it's like a semantics. Instead of profit, maybe if something else had been used, it could have been. For us, it's very simple. It's not that if there is more money, we founders take more money home. That's not the case. It's like if there is more money, there is more money in the company to do investment in R&D, create market creation, and so on. So that's the leverage which we get to invest in the larger cause which we have started. I mean, I'm just a salaried person, as simple as that. And I think that misnomer is there in within the community, and at times then you are viewed very differently.
Yeah. But I've also known your business model for a while. You also work with a lot of non-profits.
Yeah.
And a lot of the purchases that happen are through CSR wings or CSR purchases.
Right.
So that's great, because if I am a non-profit in this space, I have you, because you are building an efficient product, a product that consumers really want. And I just have to figure out how to make the commerce work.
So again, when we're talking about, if you call about social problems, these are like large social problems. Very rarely will happen that you are alone going to make and do the entire changes. So even we are like an enterprise, but the idea is to work collaboratively with multiple people. And typically NGOs and NGOs, they don't work with each other and so on. But we being centered, we have the ability to work very closely with all of them, because they are out there connected to the grassroots. And we bridge the gaps. I mean, there are direct users who buy it, and through these NGOs, there is again people who benefit from it.
Fair enough. You are saying NGOs may not end up working together because they may have a different agenda.
Yeah.
They may be sponsored by a different team and so on. So say a non-profit founded by one bank may not want to work with a non-profit founded by another bank.
Absolutely.
But in your case, it doesn't matter, because both banks can work with you. And therefore, it's good for the consumer.
Absolutely.
Amazing. I also want to say that this is not your only product, right? Like, there are more products coming in. Can you give us an idea of how you plan your product? And I think you spoke about it in Shark Tank also, right?
Yeah. So let me tell you how we got into disability products, persons with disability as a segment in itself. So my introduction to this was as a part of my final year project, my master's thesis. Now, my 5 years at IIT was all about hardware. And as a part of my final year project also, I wanted to do something hardware. And there are only two profs where it is like, you do all this analysis simulation, but then you should build it. And that is the deliverable. And Professor Sujatha, who is also one of the co-founders at NeoMotion, and who was my guide as a part of my master's project, she used to work in assistive technologies. For me, it was interesting because I not only design something, I build it, but it is also directly for a human being. So I think that touch was exciting for me. Once I had built, I built something called as a swimming pool lift to help the person get into a swimming pool for exercise and come out. And I didn't know how powerful it would be. I mean, I built all of that. I did all the math theory. And then somewhere around April or May, after the entire thesis, all of that was done, I took it to the field for a trial. And there were 5-6 people who used it. And I was amazed by how powerful a simple mechanical device actually makes in their life. Everybody came and said, thank you, you built this, it has changed so much. I felt powerful in the sense, like, as a mechanical engineer, you're doing something so small. And it makes a difference. I mean, I graduated.
Can I just say one thing here? It's interesting to me how you are talking about build as this very natural thing. I'm an engineer. I came here to do mechanical engineering. So I asked somebody where to go. I came to IIT Madras. My 5 years are about building.
Yeah.
The opinion of what engineering is about for centuries has been about building. Building rockets, building bridges, building robots.
Yeah.
Suddenly in the last 5-10 years, it's about coding. Isn't this like disconcerting when you meet someone and they say, you're an engineer, you must be a coder?
Yeah. So that happens very often. Like when I say I'm an engineer, people often confuse that. Okay, you must be.
Yeah, which software company, which product?
And when people say product, by product, when I say no, it's a hardware, that's also, people can't relate that at all. Yeah, that change has been there. Actually, there are very few who are into hardware, I would say.
That's correct.
Presently.
The hardware engineering building space in India is small, but we are at the heart of it because we are at CFI, and we'll talk about CFI for a bit later. But not just in CFI, across in the IIT Madras and the research park, a lot of people who are building. Right. Of course, Ether Energy came from here, and Solinas, and so many other companies who are building real products, hardware products, and this is exciting. Yeah. So you build the swimming pool lift, and then?
Then I went into ITC. I worked for a couple of years. There also I was building. I was building plants.
You were in a factory setting?
I was in a factory setting.
Okay.
I was in a factory setting. I was also part of a new factory that was being set up in that. But somewhere I felt that I was missing something. Like the direct user connect, building something there to an end user. I wanted to get into that. I also happened to meet multiple of my batchmates, seniors, who had started their own business, started their own startups, and I felt that they were becoming wiser with time. For example, Kedar is a classic example.
Kedar from Hyperverge.
Yep, Kedar from Hyperverge. Like, I mean, this guy is being exposed to something which I'm not. He knows more about the world which I'm not. So, and then in the course of time, I also met multiple of...
Kedar became very wise very fast. I get it.
That's okay.
When you meet him now, it feels like he has the wisdom of a 50-year-old person. He's just like 30 now. I think he just has his first child.
I also had to met like some of the batch, some of our alumnus from IIT Madras from 60s. They were running companies who were supplying to ITC. I mean, I met them as vendor and I was inspired by them. You've seen this mega factories on Discovery.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of my favorite shows that I used to watch. And so I went to some of their setups, and then like they had that. I mean, it's not like a mega factory, but like a nicely well-built structure, how everything is nicely being done.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, we should do something like that. I should do something like that. So it's like product, build something. And then the question was, what do I go back to? So I had exposure to assistive technology sector. I think that's a good starting point, like just connecting the dots back. So I came back to IIT Madras as a research scholar. I worked with Professor Sujatha, and we're building something called as a standing wheelchair. And we're doing field trials of that between 2015, 2016. So somewhere around 2016, I traveled across 40 odd locations in India, interacted with close to 200 wheelchair users. And I found that most of them are actually stuck inside their house. Some of them even had job opportunities. They got some offer, but then the question was, how do they go to work? And I think that gave us the understanding, provided us the understanding that, so it's not just about mobility, but with mobility, how can we provide that economic independence is an extremely important aspect, because only then it's like a full circle. I mean, you have kind of fulfilled the entire requirement. And unless you are earning on your own, unless you're taking care of your own expenses, unless you are a breadwinner of the family, suddenly you had an accident and then you go back and then you are dependent on everybody. It's devastating for the user.
Identity of self will change.
Yeah. So somewhere over there, then we found that no, we should build something to help people go out. And then we had a long list of ideas in that field trip that we observed. We understood the one size fits all. We saw small kids sitting on large chairs with postures like this. You know what would happen to them over a period of time. So it's not that people didn't have the paying capacity. People could pay, just that they didn't know. So that's when we came up with our customized chair, which we built to order. Then we have this add-on. And let me tell you how we are building the next product sets. So over the last 4-5 years, people call us asking for, I need this, I need that. We have about 30,000 inquiries. People would have said, I need this. So this is how we have identified these are the different gaps that are there in the market for which solutions are not available. So we again, so some of the product lines that are there, customized seating with joystick control. The key is the customized seating. Then we have something called as a standing wheelchair. We call it NeoMotion. Like imagine as a wheelchair user, I'm speaking to somebody, I always have to look up. In a social setting, it's not nice. I mean, you're always looking up to people. Whereas imagine you come to an upright position, you come eye to eye and have a conversation. You're at an office, you're talking about your work, you again stand and talk. So it helps.
Yeah, for sure. I think you mentioned earlier, or maybe I knew this from earlier, a lot of your users are teachers.
Yeah.
It's a very common thing. A teacher needs to stand in front of the class.
Absolutely. Then there are challenges like simple activities of toileting, showering, taking care of your daily living. It's called activities of daily living, which is typically as a term. How do you go safely inside a bathroom, take a shower, clean yourself, get ready for the day? It's very challenging for a wheelchair user. I mean, those gaps are there. So these are the directions in which we are trying to solve the problem. How can we ensure that every touch point of their life, we have a solution which makes their life simple?
Let's address the thing that both of us know. We've been waiting for to talk about it. We are in CFI.
Okay.
And as a student, you were the student head for CFI in 2012.
Yeah.
And first of all, it's an amazing thing to do.
Yeah.
Why don't you take us through what is CFI and how was your CFI experience?
Okay. So I was pulled into CFI on day 3 of me joining campus. So
recruit early, guys.
So during I was in Ganga hostel. So during one of the roll calls, Ravikant asked, who knows coding? I raised my hand that I know coding, C++, another 2-3 of us. And then he got me here. Then he said, we are doing this thing and we need to write a code of this. I said, I don't want to do this. I want to build this. So they're building something called as Want to Fly, an aircraft that was being built. So this was this amazing place where things come to life, in the sense form. I mean, a shape is given to different objects. That's how 2008 and all it was there. It's this bunch of crazy people who are all excited about transforming their thoughts, designs, ideas into a physical form. Integrating that with intelligence, adding different features to it.
It must have been really exciting because you loved science projects since school, and then suddenly you're here, and this is like basically like an upgraded science project, right?
It's super upgraded with access to multiple people who are thinking like you, with resources which is out there. You're not struggling around. At one place, you have everything. So it was like crazy. Like, I don't remember a day when I have returned earlier than 2 a.m. Like, every day used to be a ritual. Like, come, go, this, come here, build something, work. And my 5 years, they're actually like that. And it's fantastic. I mean, it's one of those, if you love building things, and this is a place where time flies and you won't know. That's the environment, that's the energy. And everybody's so excited about it. for me, it's been great. In whatever I'm doing right now, I can trace it back completely to this. That exposure of you getting your hands dirty with all that oil grease, cutting that hands on.
You were part of the Want to Fly. Any other teams you were part of?
I was part of Want to Fly and Aero Club for my 3 years. Then I was a Shastra event score, and then I became CFI.
Oh, Shastra. Yeah. Somebody told me that you love Junkyard Wars.
Oh, yes.
I think Junkyard Wars was a show on Discovery.
Yeah.
And it was in my year that we added Junkyard Wars to. So
Was it?
It is. It was
Nice.
my idea.
Great.
I was like, I love this show. We must have it. So for those who don't know, and maybe it's not there anymore, in Junkyard, what you do is you put a bunch load of junk, like old engineering junk, and you give a bunch of machines and you give a problem statement.
Yeah.
Do you remember what your problem statement was?
So I remember in my first year of the problem statement was build a mobility vehicle out of bicycles and the scoring point was how many number of people can you make them sit on that same vehicle powered by 2 human beings. So you have to make space, make this thing, how many people are you carrying and being powered by 2 humans.
And what was the junk you had access to?
We basically had access to like steel bench, bicycles,
Old bicycles.
Yeah, I think those are the junk that you generate at IIT.
Yeah.
All your desks and bicycles, all those bicycles. Yeah.
It's changed now because CFI projects generate high quality junk.
Right.
Old Formula cars,
Right.
ex-Hyperloop equipment,
Yeah.
old rockets.
Old rockets.
Yeah. Nice. How was it like heading CFI? Because as a student, you get to be part of this. You're so excited. You're working on individual components, staying till 2 o'clock. That's a different experience. But as the head, it's no longer about working yourself, but about, I don't know, what is it about?
I'll tell.
And
So it's I think the entire culture that has created CFI is my seniors taught me. They did it for me. I have to do it. I have to pass on the same knowledge, know-how with the juniors. I think I know 2-3 years people who are above me and 2-3 years who are junior to me. So the entire part of heading it is all about exposing students, freshers, second years, third years about what are the different possibilities that you could do. And it's not that you're trying to pull everybody in. It's like, this is the landscape. This is what you could do, exposing them to various tools. And then those who are interested will anyway come. And then it is all about working with them, guiding them, shortening their project duration. It's all about knowledge sharing. Like, I have done this in the past. I know why it happened, why it did not go right, or this went right. Sharing that with them so that further, whatever projects are being done, they're happening faster, better, and so on. So I think bulk of the work as a part of student head was being in touch with different juniors. And along with it, definitely all these administrative tasks, going to dean's office, figuring out how to get the payment done, fundraising. Those are anyway part and parcel. But the part which we enjoyed the most is interacting with.
I like to think that going to dean's office and getting the payment done is training for life.
It's training for life.
Because I'm sure you are at some point going to a customer and saying, please finish this payment.
I agree.
Great, amazing. And you're in the line of some really nice CFI heads we've had.
Yeah.
A lot of them have become entrepreneurs. There's, of course, Swapnil. I think he was heading the Raftar project. He's now the CTO at Aethers. There's Siddharth, who runs Bharat Agri.
Right.
I think, was he your junior?
He was my junior.
Quite cool. And of course, Ravikant himself is running a EV consultancy thing. But what about your collaborators in NeoMotion? You're obviously, we are talking to you as representing NeoMotion, but it's a team. It's like quite a few people, right? And on Shark Tank, I think there were 3 of you.
Right.
There's of course Dr. Sujatha also.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how their journeys have been? Were they also CFI guys?
Yeah. So all 3 of them, Ashish, Siddharth, whom you saw on Shark Tank, everybody has spent good time here at CFI. Let me start with Professor Sujatha. I think her exposure to AT as a sector, assistive tech as a sector, was back as her final year project in 1992. And from there on, she has stuck onto this. And I mean, she worked here, she went to the US, she was in industry, Then she came back, and when she came back, she realized that nothing much has changed in so long, and hence she started the R2D2 Center, at which will basically focuses on rehabilitation research and device development.
Now, what is R2D2?
It's again, it's a center of excellence, which is called as rehabilitation research and device development,
Okay.
which basically works on developing, furthering the products, technology, research in biomechanics, in mobility products for persons with disability. So in fact, I mean, the work that we did spun out from that center. So multiple products are built. It's also like a mini CFI sort of thing, and almost all the students who go there have spent time in CFI. It's like a natural hiring route. Like if you've come to CFI, come to R2D2. That's how it used to happen.
Damn cool. I want to just comment that I have always felt that R2D2 lab has a great name. And of course, because R2D2 is one of the most recognizable robots of all time. So, Dr. Sujatha, and it was your final year guide, which is understandable. But then you went to IDC and then you came back and joined her lab.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
She was my faculty advisor. I have known her for 5 years. She was my master's thesis guide also. I was always in touch with her, what was happening. She's a very nice person to work with. And I mean, when I was in ITC also, I was discussing with her, I'm thinking about making some changes, I mean, or a transition, figure out what I want to do next. And that is when she told me that, Swostik, we have the standing wheelchair. Can we look at working on it together? And that's when I decided, let's come back and take a product, and then we'll figure out maybe starting a company or something at that point of time.
It's interesting to me that now what's happening at IIT Madras in the fields of computer science, AI, mechanical, all fields, that there are professors who are working on something, there are students who are working on something. There seems to be a natural way to collaborate, which is fine. But now that's ending up becoming an enterprise and a startup and has a journey of it beyond the lab. That's quite cool.
I think, in fact, that should be the natural progression.
Yeah.
Because all the work that we do, imagine the number of prototypes that we generate. But what's the point of that if it is not reaching the end user or the end goal being consumed? So I think it's extremely important that this should be the natural course. I mean, maybe to an industry or a startup.
Maybe you say it's natural now, but I'm just looking at it from a perspective of the academic institution saying, look, this is our mandate, make pilots or make prototypes. Our mandate as an academic institute stops with research, stops with prototypes, and then, somebody from the industry should come and pick it up. But now the mandate at IIT Madras, I don't know about other IITs, but at IIT Madras is very clear that we are not stopping at prototype. We are going to take it all the way.
Right.
Which is a big change, and it's maybe a 10-year-old.
I think it is just recent. I mean, within my time itself, we have seen that change.
Except for maybe Professor Junjunwala's lab, which, from the 80s, they've been thinking like that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And maybe Professor Krishnawal's lab, which has been doing that for many years.
Yeah.
But now it's like every lab now thinks like that.
Right.
That's amazing. But how does that collaboration work? Because the R2D2 lab, it's still an academic institution lab. And then how does that collaboration with you as an entrepreneur work with the sort of the academic environment here?
There are multiple modes by which this could be set up. Like specifically for us, it's like a joint development and joint ownership of patent. So whatever technologies we built, the designs that we built, both NeoMotion and IIT Madras also. So that's the basic premise on which this operates.
So I guess it was always possible. It was just a mindset change, or maybe the times have moved in such a way that this has become now natural.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. When I said natural, I primarily meant that is how it should have been, because if you take any of the best companies out there, the best technologies out there, that is how it has transitioned.
Yeah. In fact, I was talking to someone yesterday and we were discussing that it's so obvious for us. Google came out of a Stanford lab.
Yeah.
We just take that for granted. And when we look at IIT, somehow the idea is that they will produce students who will go abroad. And no, like we have our own technology which we can commercialize.
Correct.
Maybe now we are doing it actively.
No, it's absolutely that mindset change. What you spoke about, I think it's just that.
You were talking about your collaborators. We spoke about Dr. Sujatha.
Yeah. So So we have Ashish and Siddharth, who are my other co-founders. So Ashish is junior to me, but also again, he spent his entire 5 years at CFI and did his final year project with Dr. Sujatha. So again, a very natural. He was just graduating. I had just come back, and I said, "Don't go anywhere. Join, come back together." And then I kind of pushed him. I mean, he had a placement from Philips. Then he said, "Okay, come join." And he was excited. I mean, we knew about it and so on. Siddharth worked for Schlumberger, and then so Siddharth is actually my hostel mate. I mean, we were neighbors in the same way, and we were secretaries in the hostel also at the same time. I was technical affairs, he was into sports, and I think he had spent his first and second year at CFI, again building things, and then he got into sports and others. But he also had a sense of building things. He had that passion, and after graduating, we were in touch. He was in Schlumberger. Then he wanted to work into social sector. He actually joined SBI Fellowship. They have a program called Youth for India, and he was in Odisha, in a remote village, working with a bunch of students at a school, trying to help them on multiple subjects, science, computer, and so on. And again, we were in touch. Somewhere he had that social inclination, and then after that fellowship, then we were speaking, and we said we could use each other's skill and we could grow it together. So he came in, and then so that has been a part of.
I have a question here. When you talk so effortlessly of people going to an ITC, coming out, going to a Schlumberger, coming out, going to a Philips, coming out, and these are companies that pay really well, do great work, amazing companies, right?
Yeah.
And then when I talk to high school students who are trying to apply to IIT or whatever, they're writing JE now, they've just got through JE. There's an excitement about building and startup, but there's also this sort of fear or maybe peer pressure that I need to get a really good paying, high paying job. You know the number, I'm not going to say it. And maybe I should get into AI, or I should get into CS, or I should pick up Python, and so on. And how do you, when you talk to young students, how do you deal with this anxiety that, you know, there's this mix up, I want to build planes and things that move, but I also want.
So I think, so it's basically your interest and then this huge social peer pressure or whatever media hype that has been created, and then where you're trying to push yourself, force yourself into that. I think for me, what actually had helped, and maybe for the others also, I think when most of us came to IIT from our peers, you also kind of understand to discover yourself, figure out that, and at some point of time, you'd also feel and realize that, no, this is possible. And for me, I got the confidence when I met multiple people who had started on their own and who were doing really well. So it's just that the start may be challenging and rough, but say fast forward 10 years, 20 years, it's actually a very nice place to be in. Like I spoke about, I met our alumni from the 60s and 70s who have their own business and who do very well. So for me, that was a moment of confidence. So while so much is being spoken about the conventional routes, I think now starting up is still all right. Like go back 2010, starting up is like, what?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Have you gone nuts?
Yeah. My mother didn't speak to me for 3 months after I started. So I want to say, so what you're saying is that the conventional Schlumberger, ITC, Philips route is always available.
Yeah.
And it's a good route, but as you see other people building and as you see other people succeeding at it, you also get confidence that I can do this and I will earn sufficiently and do well.
Right. Just that the ratio is right now skewed. We speak a lot more about conventional routes, maybe a lot less about building your own startup, creating your own startup. Now it's slightly better.
Yeah. We are all waiting for Aether's IPO.
Okay.
Because that will make a lot more money available to a lot more people, and then everybody will raise their opinion. And your IPO, hopefully.
Yeah.
Is it possible to become like that big in this sector? Like, how much is the market size?
Yeah. So I think every time people ask how big is your market, I just park that question aside. I said, you start
Okay, let me ask you a different question. Let's remove the market size question because I think it's an Excel sheet.
Yeah.
Um, I'm avoiding using the word here. It's an Excel sheet exercise. So, instead of asking you that, let me ask you, is it possible for you to take your products across the world and become a world leader in this segment? And I'm also asking this because multiple hardware companies I've spoken to, building out of India, seem to say that when you go out, people almost view an Indian company as a low-end company, like almost like a liability, like, like, oh, you're from India, I'll talk to you later, in hardware. And I know that Ether is now available in Nepal and Sri Lanka, which is okay, which is slightly hard. At least it's going out of our shores. But how hard is it?
So I think from a perception viewpoint, that's absolutely right. If you actually go out and say you're from India, because traditionally we have not been great manufacturers. Traditionally we have not been, our quality, finish, reliability have always been in question. It's not that we can't think of multiple or any example which has been done, well designed here, built here, has gone somewhere. So that precedence is not there.
Yeah.
And whoever has tried, whatever products have gone out, maybe we've also experienced that the quality may not have been good. But is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Just simple example of Aether. I mean, designing and manufacturing the entire thing here is itself a feat. And when you look at it, the quality finish, it's amazing. Specifically for us, yes, I mean, our entire, from day one, the goal has been like this. Our design principles are all based on very first principles. Like we've thought about it from the basics. The quality standards that we are looking at is again the best in class that we could think.
Right. It's not reverse engineered. It's not
reverse
engineered. We took this electric wheelchair, we ripped it apart, did it again. No.
Yeah. So it's understanding the end user and building it from ground up, piece by piece, so that they all fit seamlessly. And we will be, in fact, the goal is that you're doing all this work. India is a fantastic market to start. You'd have the most demanding consumers. We want the best or pay the least. It's a fantastic test market.
Demand the best and pay the least.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So it does well, and then we should be able to go out and be out there. So if you ask me specifically in this particular category, just regarding the market size of it, how I visualize what is our thought process. See, India will age. See, what is our average population right now? Fast forward 10 years, 20 years. There would be requirement of significant number of such products, technologies which would be required. The average age of living, the life expectancy has been increasing. So people are here to stay and they will be on their own.
Yeah.
Support, caregiving will be available. I mean, all those will be available less. So it's our responsibility to start building things so that when the time comes, we're not struggling and say, hey, can we fix it? And then we start importing a bunch of things. So it's like we see a huge opportunity out there, a huge need out there, which needs to be solved.
That's very interesting. I do see it as, I mean, I know that you said this is a category creation problem, which is a marketing problem in itself.
Yeah.
You have to convince a large number of people that this is a product that you need. These are the specs. This is the price point that you have to pay, and so on. Now you're adding, saying that, oh, but I have to do this across the globe, and I have to do this in many countries. So that, how do you approach this from a marketing point of view at all?
Yeah, I think regarding the category creation, if you go to the Europe and the Americas, it's relatively easy because they know of it. There, it's about what are the additional value props, and if you reverse engineer, you don't have anything differentiated. So because if you do it from first principles, then you know these are the key differentiating points, which others have actually not captured. And being here, we have captured, which actually has sense over there. Like in the last 1 year, we have done some quick checks just from a product market fit. Is there the value prop extra? Like we have gone to the Europe, we have gone to the US, did some trials and studies. We have an absolute good fit. So yeah, if you have thought about it from basics, you will see those things which others typically tend to miss.
That's interesting. You also spoke about, I think when we were chatting earlier, you mentioned that, okay, so here's a product that's been built in a lab. From first principles, we have met the users, we have figured this out. Then the lab has you've collaborated with the lab to set up a company.
Yeah.
The patents are jointly owned, but the enterprise is running on its own.
Yeah.
You've started selling. There's a huge mindset shift also, right? You move from an engineering mindset to a sort of like a business mindset. And how was that journey for you?
What we need to appreciate is there is a constant process of unlearning and relearning. Like, you wear multiple hats during the entire journey, and it doesn't come to you naturally, but then during the course of interaction. So I think IIT Madras incubation cell, the number of mentors that we have, and some of that has been helpful. You keep meeting different people, and then they keep asking you multiple questions, and then you feel, okay, why is this question relevant right now? You won't appreciate it, but you would appreciate it after a year. This guy had told me this. It makes sense right now. So I think as an entrepreneur, if you're able to meet multiple people, being exposed to that question, it helps. And that constant, like, let me tell you this, just maybe 6 or 7 months before I accepted that we don't know sales. We don't know marketing. It's only 6 months before that we got into that. I mean, there is a science behind it. There is a logic behind it, which, like, unless you reach that stage, you will again not accept it. So I think there is a natural progression over there. And it's about, I think at each stage, identify at what stage of the company are you in, and seek help. And that's the only way.
I also appreciate that it's easy to say seek help, but unless help is available to be gotten, it's of no use, right? And I think over the last 5-10 years, the incubation ecosystem has evolved a lot. So what is really the support you've got from IIT other than that from R2D2 lab?
I think the biggest help would be from the incubation cell would be in terms of access to various mentors that we have had. So these have been seasoned people who have been there in the industry, who have run businesses at very large levels, those who have started business on their own. So when you meet to them, you get to know various questions which you won't think on your own. I think that is fast track, and that helps it. It may not be relevant at this point of time, but then it registers in your mind that there is this angle, there is this viewpoint to be also considered, which you have not looked at right now. You can decide whether to act on it right now or not. But the importance is knowing that this is a question which is of relevance, purely in terms of risk, or purely in terms of how people think about pricing, how consumers behave about pricing. Today you start something, your discount changes, and so on. You once you discuss, you get exposed to, okay, what are the possibilities that could be out there.
Fair enough. So you get access. So initially we spoke about access to technology, access to prototyping facilities, access to co-founders and early employees. Now we are speaking about access to mentors who are sort of giving you, answering questions before you even had those questions.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What about money?
Yeah.
Did the ecosystem help you with that?
Yeah. So, IIT Incubation Cell, again, I think you do get your seed fund, you could also get a couple of grants from there. And it definitely helps you in the initial stage. I think for your entire pilot MVP at that stage, you get the money from there. And there is access to angel networks from there, where you could maybe do your seed round from there on as well. We have taken a different path. I mean, for us, we know that it's a problem which has got a long cycle. I mean, even to understand the market and put all the puzzles together, all the pieces together, would take a long time. So it's a hardware, and then it is also so-called social. It's a social problem, and we didn't want to be under any constraint on a timeline perspective that if you start by this much time, you actually have to achieve this, because we don't know whether it is achievable or not, whether it is possible or not. So our goal was to become self-sustainable as quickly as possible, be as lean as possible, and reach that stage. Because if you reach that, then NeoMotion is here to stay. And if NeoMotion stays, we will be doing the change. So that has been our model. So we have operated through grants, and presently it's purely debt. It's for our working capital rotation. It's like a line of credit. You buy materials, you supply, you sell, you make money that goes reinvested for marketing, your R&D, and so on.
But you are specifically saying that you didn't go down the venture funding route.
Yeah, we didn't go down.
One of the things that happens with venture funding route is that, I mean, all of that, what you said is right, that of course it comes with the constraint that the funding, the VCs who will come in will sort of have some constraints, at least on timeline.
Yeah.
At least do this by this time.
Yeah.
And then what if you can't?
Yeah.
Right. What if the community takes longer to respond and so on? But also the one thing that VC funding gives you is that it gives you social capital.
Correct.
People recognize you much easier that, oh, this is your valuation, this is what you're worth. People join faster. Maybe even the press recognizes a little better. So didn't you feel that you wanted that part of VC funding?
Sure. So I think, so I'm not saying that VC funding should not be taken. So imagine it like a, it's like a collaboration or a whatever, marriage, I don't know, some word like that. Yeah. Between the company and the VC. See, everybody has so the company has a business model. The VC fund also has a business model.
Yeah.
There has to be coherence in that. And if that is not the key, if you know of it from day one, then why? You go around, you meet various people, and then you find that there has to be sync and coherence between how it is there. So it's not certain businesses, if you don't take VC funds, you can't grow fast, and it is required. Otherwise, you will not sustain.
Okay.
It's more like relevantly for your business. Do you think if somebody says me, Swostik, take X, change the market? Can you actually do? No, I don't. If you give tons of money, it's not that I can go and change the market, because the market takes, when I can give discounts, everybody will have NeoMotion products, but then it will not sustain it. It's just a one-time activity. So idea is to actually be able to create in a way which stays and which continues. And that is, the longevity is important. Does it help us in social capital? Definitely yes. Did we miss it? Again, it was missing for us. So if you see the team, whatever we have, are all those people who are extremely passionate about the cause. So it's not that we created, we had some brand value because of it, people came and joined. We were doing something interesting, exciting. And our present entire team are all those who are interested about hardware in general and impact as a larger purpose. So that's naturally, very few people will come, but those who are there are here to stay.
That's very interesting. As you were saying it, I was thinking that, yeah, definitely I can think of some companies which have been funded by type A kind of VCs where we're like, okay, I guess they saw something in it, but I don't know what their product does, and it's a little confusing why they got invested. But you were saying that this is the opposite. You didn't look for funding, but the product is very strong. The customer recognizes it. And of course, we know that because a lot of Zomato drivers use NeoMotion, it's very visible. And so you didn't need that social capital. You didn't need that acceptance.
We didn't need that. It's like very few people will be excited about us, but those who are excited are genuinely excited and they're here to stay. So you don't attract a lot of talent, but you attract few talent, but those talent are like, that's exactly what you need.
It's also, on that note, we see money flowing into hardware startups have been quite less traditionally and only increasing now. So now maybe
exactly
you'll get quoted.
Yeah.
Nice. This was a great conversation. I think we spoke about your childhood, giving JE, loving science projects in KV. And it's almost like stepping into CFI as a dream, and then spending 5 years here, really building stuff, going to ITC, working in a factory, coming back to R2D2 lab, long collaboration with Dr. Sujatha, and then your products became available to customers, and that became a thing. Now you have some collaborators on this journey of yours. In the meantime, you came to Shark Tank, and that was like a lot of visibility.
Shark Tank was fantastic in building that awareness about the product. So it's not like, when we're not selling like chips or biscuit that you go and then suddenly your sales goes up. It's like, it's a product which you may need, and there are some people who would need, but who would like to evaluate and so on. For us, it has helped in our brand validation. People have seen about it. People have experienced it. So at multiple places, when we're having an interaction, we see something and say, I was considering about it. I think I've seen you on Shark Tank also, and it helps in building that credibility and resulting in making a purchase decision or a sponsorship decisions and so on. So it's been amazing. A lot of people know about it just from Shark Tank.
That period of Shark Tank when it aired, how was the first 1 week like?
We had definitely a lot of inquiries, a lot of people inquiring about it. What is it like? Where is it available? How can I buy it? And so on. So it was crazy, increasing numbers of people inquiring about it and asking to know more.
I think it's a great forum for that, right? Like, because it airs at a very good time. And
Imagine getting 10 minutes of screen time on national channel, a very popular one, at a prime time. It is extremely powerful.
yeah, and that too, you're being asked questions, insightful questions by a very well-respected peer group.
Yeah.
Not peer group, well-respected group of people. Yeah, fantastic. I mean, congratulations on that. And yeah, you're a self-funded bootstrap company which is making profit, investing in R&D. Your factory is in Chennai.
Our factory is in Chennai.
All right. And so what's next? What do the next 5-10 years look like?
Yeah, I think in a country like India, we have a user base of only 5,200. It's a very, very small number.
These are the number of
people who are using NeoMotion products. I think when we started, maybe we asked me 3 years before, I would be like excited. We have 2,000 people, 3,000 people using it. Now it's like, in India, you have just 5,200 users. So imagine where are we? We have a huge, long way to go. It's not the beginning of a very long marathon. All that we have done in the last 5-6 years is just put the different pieces together. What is product development? What is pricing? What is production? Maybe what is go-to-market? And what is after sales? We have just put these pieces together. Now it's about making this engine very well-oiled, efficient, so that it can really grow. And a lot of work to be done on sales and marketing, market creation. And I think our goal is to quickly reach 1 lakh users, maybe in the next 3-4 years. And then we will see how it takes from there. So more people using it, more products in pipeline and development, and getting all the regulatory clearances for export, all of that lies ahead.
And how do you see CFI growing? I mean, just to be clear here, I graduated just before CFI started.
Yeah.
And now we are sitting in the new CFI building, which is enormous.
Yeah.
And it's like 3 floors and it has the centrally air conditioned, and just, it's insane, right? Like, how do you see this moving forward?
I think this furthers all the work that was actually started by you and all the at the time who started CFI, to getting a lot more people over here, providing that exposure. I think all that we want is that exposure. You should know that this is also a choice, this is also a possibility, and not be into mainstream, the one thing that which everybody is after. I think IIT has been primarily about that. You are into sports, you are into tech, you are into culture, whatever it is, it helps you discover that. CFI is a very important element of making the discovery about building for a good number of people. And I think once you have that hands-on experience, you have done it, the confidence that you have to take up larger challenges in life is enormous. And the network that you build, these are crazy people who say that I can do this, which typically people don't think of. And this makes this like a like a stepping stone, or what do you call it? In the swimming pool, that board that is there from a
Diving board,
or it's like that spring, that initial jump that you get.
That is very interesting. I'm thinking about it now, and we say IIT is the best place to build, and or IIT Madras is the best place. Sorry, but the question you're saying is, why are you building? You're building because it sort of gives you a lot of confidence in yourself. It helps you find your own true nature, and it gives you the ability to believe that you can do bigger things and take on bigger challenges and so on. And maybe that's inside a company, but that's fine.
In fact, I think I look at it that, see, it's a natural. I mean, you can't continue something for long if you genuinely don't like it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I think this helps you identify that. This helps for a set of people identify that, yes, I can build, I can do something, and this facilitates that, which otherwise you won't be exposed to. Imagine if this was not there. A lot of people won't discover what they like. Imagine we didn't have a cricket ground inside campus. Many people who love cricket won't even understand that. Imagine our seniors were not IAS officers. Won't walk down that path. I think this helps you discover that. CFI helps discover for a bunch of people about their love for building things or solving larger problems.
Fantastic. Great conversation.
Okay.
I love it. I mean, I've spoken to you many times, but every time I speak to you, it's like very insightful. And I really hope you succeed in your mission. So good luck.
Thank you.